Hello there, my music lovers. I'm Josh from audiophile-heaven, and today we are having a look at the SMSL DO200. This is a DAC made by SMSL and they are a very interesting company. They are from China. They usually try to provide the best products they can for the lowest prices possible. And while that usually doesn't really result in the highest sonic performance possible, this one is special. The DO200 is going to show us what SMSL is capable of. So let's get down to the unboxing. The DO200 doesn't come with a lot of accessories, and you may think that it is quite bare, but it has a nice remote, which you can see here. The remote doesn't come with batteries installed, but I remember seeing some batteries inside the package. At any rate, this is a very simple looking remote like most SMSL, but it is good, it is practical. It also comes with a USB cable, a power cable, and an antenna for the Bluetooth signal. I have a blast reading the specifications from the SMSL website. Since the company is from China, some spelling mistakes are excusable. You don't need to hold them to them, but it just sounds a bit funny. So it supports full MQA decoding, which is pretty cool. So the DO200 is fully MQA enabled on all inputs. I don't even know how they managed to do that. It also has very high resolution decoding, including DSD decoding. The PCM goes as high as 32 bits and 768 kilohertz, DSD 512. So the maximum these days, but just listen to this, and I like how they phrased it. 5 high-end dual op-amps, OPA 1612, and a lot of audio grade components are used. A lot. We don't really need to know how much or what audio components, but there's a lot inside. I'm very sure that they did not intend to make it like this in English. They just translated it straight from Chinese, and it just doesn't make sense anymore. So I really hope that they will employ someone who can actually translate the description, because it's so funny. And actually this is a bit concerning, because a lot of people may be avoiding their products because they may not take the technical description too seriously. Everything else is pretty cool. It has Bluetooth 5.0. Also, it sports a DAC made by ASS, an ES9068AS chip. Two of them actually. But here is where things start to get interesting. It supports Bluetooth, but this is not your run-of-the-mill Bluetooth. It supports LDAC with full high-resolution Bluetooth. It supports aptX HD, also AAC and SBC, but LDAC. This is the first desktop-grade DAC that supports LDAC that I'm reviewing, like the first one. Not a single other desktop DAC supports LDAC, and I think that they should start to implement that. It's very common and very useful nowadays. Not only LDAC is fully supported, but SMSL actually took us by surprise, because they implemented I2S as an interface. This is the best sounding overall interface from all the digital interfaces available right now, although it is only supported by a few select streamers and a few computers. You really need to dig in to find an I2S supported platform. It has an AES SBU, an AAS EBU input. It also has coaxial. It has a service port in the micro SD type. You have an on-off switch. We have the power switch, and we have the outputs. Since this is a DAC, there is no headphone output. The outputs are just 2 and 4 ports, but 2 outputs. There is the RCA output, which is single-ended, and then there is the XLR output, which actually sounds better. I have used the XLR output for most of my testing because I find that it sounds better than the single-ended RCA output. The front of the SMSL DO200 has this display. You can actually kind of see the infrared sensor right on the left side of the display. So it has an infrared sensor behind the display. It has tempered glass to protect the display, which I found pretty cool. I was just reviewing the Headbox DS last night, and out of curiosity, I pushed my finger on the display, and that was not protected by a glass protector. So yeah, good job to the guys at SMSL. It has this volume button, which you can also push to control it and to select. With a very high number of inputs and the high quality XLR outputs, you are expecting a pretty good sound. And as I was saying at the beginning of the video, usually purchasing from China and purchasing very well priced hifi stuff meant sacrificing some on the sonics. Usually it just meant that you need to sacrifice something, but not anymore. Right now, I would be willing to say that the SMSL DO200 is probably the best price/performance ratio DAC that I'm reviewing. Like, it costs so little and it does so much in terms of sonics. It sounds excellent on all of its inputs, regardless whether you are using the I2S input, if you are using the optical input, if you are using the coaxial input, or if you are using the USB input. What I was surprised by far the most is that even the Bluetooth input sounds much better than all of the other DACs I tested. Like, not a single other DAC for desktop that I tested supports LDAC and aptX HD. Yeah, they've been around for a few years now, those standards. They should be able to support them. But SMSL decided to do it. SMSL. I like this company. I like how they support everything. They make everything cheaper than most competitors. And some people still avoid them. Why do they avoid them, you may wonder? Well, the few SMSL products were questionable in terms of overall design and overall aesthetics sometimes. But right now, the DO200 looks better than most desktop DACs you can find. I mean, compare this to an AccuFace. An AccuFace looks like an old person trying to draw its last dying breath. It's not that I don't like AccuFace as a sound, but I do think that their designs are not quite as sexy as this thing. This is small, this is ergonomic, this would look good on any desk, and most importantly, you can pair it with any other 200 series from SMSL. For example, the EO200 that I just reviewed, which is a power amplifier. They also have the HO headphone output amplifier. This is the DO DAC out. The EO was amplifier out. You see, their naming actually has some sense, and I am happy about that. They didn't name it something Chinese like they do on their website with the description. As I was saying, you can make a very sexy looking stack with the DO200. It just looks nice on the desk. The back part is very clean. You can pair it with multiple inputs at the same time. For example, you can drive your TV optical output to the input of the DO200. You can also use Bluetooth. You can have the antenna connected. You can use the USB input for your computer, and you can even have the I2S input from a streamer. You're basically able to use it with pretty much everything. This is like a media center. It just doesn't have headphone output. It just doesn't have power output. You need to purchase those separately. But once again, at very good prices for the performance, because we are talking about SMSL. The company generally has very good price performance ratio. It's something that I appreciate in a company, having good price performance ratio. I found that overall, it doesn't really react much to using power cleaners, power effects and such. It just sounds good as it is. You don't need to worry much about how to use it, how to store it and such. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy to report that you won't have to invest in a power conditioner and such. The power stage is very clean. It has a very black background. For example, on most DACs, you can hear some slight noise on the background, especially on the USB input. Most DACs have a very poorly designed USB input or Bluetooth input. Usually the Bluetooth input has a it just does those noises. I don't even understand how. But the DO200, nope. This is black background, fully clean. You don't have to worry about noise. This is the best isolated DAC I've heard today. Like, for example, I was reviewing the Mytek Brooklyn DAC Plus. It is extremely expensive. It is more than 4 times as expensive as the DO200. And guess what? The Mytek Brooklyn DAC Plus has terrible noise over USB input. It just it just does those noises. I don't even know how. And you need to use USB cleaners, USB cords, all of that stuff to escape that noise. With the DO200, nope. They managed to isolate the USB input in such a way that you don't have to deal with this. You don't even have to use this SBDF purifier from HiFi. You don't need to use anything, just the DAC, its default cables. Plug in and enjoy. I like it. I like the simplicity and I like the convenience. Talking about the sound, because we need to speak about the sound and how does it sound. As you can expect, most DACs measure extremely linear. It's a flat line, and that is how they measure. Most speakers measure pretty linear. Everything just measures pretty linear. So if you take a lot of time to do measurements, you will find out that most stuff measures similarly. And why do we hear different sounds out of them? Because someone did ask me, why do I post reviews without measurements? Well, that is because some things just don't sound the same. The character of the sound is different. And as I was saying, I would be willing to say that if you took a microphone, if you took the entire audio chain and record just the result of that, I mean, don't record the electrical output of the XLR output, just record the final sound when changing a component of an audio chain, just record that. If you did that, you would be able to hear the differences. And I don't mean just in the final graph of that sound, just record it and put it on YouTube. Some companies always do that, especially with speakers. And those speakers usually do not measure differently when playing a test tone. The test tone manages to sound quite flat, like it just excites the speaker very flatly. But when you actually go to channels, there are audio channels that record music being played through different microphones and different headphones. And guess what? Even if the graphs looks the same, the sound can be entirely different. And that is the thing. I wish I had the resources to do that. I just don't. I don't have a good enough microphone. I don't have a good room. This room has a ton of echo and I need to remove it in post. But yeah, someone who has access to those things could do it. They could get very popular. I guess I'm just missing out on that opportunity and giving someone advice on how to get rich and how to get famous. But at any rate, I'm just audiophile-heaven. There are chances that that person who would do that isn't following the channel because yeah, I still have pretty few subscribers, I think, but I'm really thankful to every single one of you. Back to the sound of the SMSL DO200. This sounds extremely authoritative and controlled. The sound generally has that sensation that it is very controlled, it is never loose, the bass is deep, it is very full, it doesn't really go above being neutral, but it has that impact and that power and that slam, that punch. It can go as low as 20 Hz and you actually hear that when you compare it to lighter sounding DACs. For example, the AA DAC from Analog Audio is much more expensive, but the bass is much more gentle and softer in impact. The DO200 has a very full and very authoritative impact. The mid-range is very clean, very good technically, very deep actually. This is a very deep sounding DAC. Compared to most DACs, we generally tend to sound wide but tend to miss on depth. The SMSL DO200 tends to sound extremely deep. It has a ton of layering, a ton of depth. You can hear that there is a distance between you and the singer, although the width is not that high. You don't really hear things very spread apart, you just hear things naturally. It has a natural width but an outstanding depth, and that is how you should remember the sound. The treble tends to be smooth, it tends to have a softer character, the impact of the treble is softer, it tends to not hit with that much sparkle, and in the end the treble may feel lacking. For example, for my personal taste, it tends to be a bit too smooth and a bit too relaxed for my life, but the end sound tends to be a bit more warm, a bit more natural and very fatigue free. You never get tired of listening to it. This means that the SMSL DO200 is really well made for music. It is made to be enjoyable, it is made to be presentable, it is made to be musical, it is made to be fun. It is very good with the detail, and for $400 it is the most detailed, smoothest actually, most authoritative, and with the blackest background DAC that I've reviewed up to this date. I have not reviewed something that has all of those qualities and in higher amounts. On whether I would recommend it or not, I would absolutely fully recommend it. You should also check our Shida store because they actually carry those products and they helped me review it this time. So if you are purchasing the SMSL DO200, check out our Shida store. They also carry other SMSL products. They also carry topping. They also carry musician items. They also carry Gustard. They have so many excellent products. I mean, that company is just excellent. That is the shop to be purchasing from. I would actually recommend our Shida more than I recommend Shenzhen store and Shenzhen zone and such, because our Shida has better overall support, faster shipping times, quicker response rate, and they are generally more friendly, more open. And I actually did something bad to them. I delayed some of the reviews that I had to make for them on the NF Audio IEMs with months, because I just had this weird summer where everything was weird in Romania and I just couldn't finish them. Then they still answered, they are still friendly even after all of that. So that company is someone who is there for their customers, someone who understands. Our Shida Audio is the store to go to if you want to purchase your excellent hifi and other products too. For example, they carry some pretty pricey, pretty high-end products. The DO200 is probably the DAC that I would recommend the most in this price range. Like for $440 it is selling for right now. Yeah, what else are you gonna get? Like for real, what else? I don't know. I don't think. Please tell me in the comments what other alternatives do you have that would sound better for about this price. Because yeah, I could recommend you pretty good DACs at $1,000, but the point is that this is made for someone who has $440. I thank you for watching. I hope this video has been informative, entertaining. I hope you'll be returning to audiophile-heaven. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to audiophile-heaven if I'm fun, if I'm enjoyable. And I hope you have the loveliest of weeks in there. I hope you also have a ton of fun if you decide to go for this. Bye bye.